So we're gonna get started. Thank you all for coming. We'll probably continue to have people coming in as this meeting generally starts at 6:30, but we have it until 8, so we wanted to give people a chance that are here to speak and talk about their agencies and wanted to have some fellowshipping time. I know we've all had really long days, so we're not going to keep it very long. But welcome to the Roaring Park Civic Association meeting. My name is Tanya Long, and I'm here as your Civic Association president, but mostly as a community partner and a neighbor. So, welcome. I want everyone to introduce themselves. Your role, please.
I'm Chris Mitchell, I'm treasurer of the Civic. Welcome, thanks for coming.
Amanda Claire, the Director of Resident Services at CEO.
I'm Megan Sayre. I'm a Neighborhood Integration Manager with Celebrate One. We're a part of the Mayor's Office.
Hi, I'm Chris Epperson. I just live in the neighborhood, so nothing special.
That's very very special.
That's why we're here, right?
I'm Missy Rouse and I'm with the Alzheimer's Association.
I'm Danielle Starks. I'm the summer fellow for At Home by High, a local nonprofit in the area.
I'm the executive director, Katie Beaumont of At Home by High, and my daughter goes to Webb Park.
Great. I'm Elizabeth Shell. I'm the property manager for Victorian Heritage Property Next Door and on this fed. And Dennis Clark.
I'm Molly Stowell, and I have Thrive Early Learning Academy. It's a child care center on 5th between Summit and Florida. We're new to the neighborhood.
Welcome everyone. It's just so good to have you all here and know that we can all work together in partnerships here. I also have some flyers I'm going to be passing down. There's a initiative called the Kindness Close to Home. Those go inclined, pick one and share it with your agencies and the people that are involved with you. Oh wait, there's two. Oh wait, is there two?
Where is it?
Or is it two? I don't know, I think.
Just this one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I just, Chris is like the person that runs things. Just want to let y'all know how much I appreciate it. I don't even know what to do without him. So he's like the best. He's really my boss. Because, yeah, I just show up and tell me what to do. So let's get started. We want Missy to come up and talk to us from the Alzheimer's Association. She has very good information about Alzheimer's and what we can do to help the community become aware and how we can run our own agencies and in our homes. Oh, one more thing. Ryan, are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, Ryan Freed is the vice president of the Civic as well, and he's unable to join us in person, so I just wanted to introduce him as well. He's also wonderful, and I wouldn't know what to do without him either. So, hello, Ryan. Hi, Ryan.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, I am Missy Rouse, and I am a nurse. I'm with the Alzheimer's Association. So I just really want to say thank you for having me in today. Anytime we have the opportunity to come in and speak to anybody in the community and partner with the community, we're very happy to do it. We're trying to also get into our pockets of the community so that people, it's hard for some communities to come to us, so we try to get out in the community wherever we can. So if you have any organizations that you think you could, with a message, you can let me know. All of our services and programs are free of charge. So, before I start, I had asked if we can have a sign-in sheet. You don't have to fill out the help to sign in, it's just optional. We are grant funded, so anytime we speak, we ask to have an attendance and it's in case we're audited ever often. So do not feel like you need to sign in. So, but I'll just pass this around, and if you wish to, you can, and then it just gets filed away. So, what we came in to talk about today is kind of what's the difference between dementia, Alzheimer's, and normal aging. It's always a question for people, and the other thing that the biggest question Mom asked is, what is the difference between Alzheimer's and dementia? So it's one of the biggest questions I ever have. I'll give you a little bit of background about myself. I've been with the association for almost 7 years now, and I go out and do different types of education. My past, I worked in an adult day center for 8 years. It was my love. We would have 104 clients a day, so I think I've seen almost everything I could with dementia. I don't say that for sure because I'll see something else. I know. And I've also been a hospice nurse, so I've kind of always been with geriatrics, so that's what my past is. So just talking about Alzheimer's and dementia. So when we talk about Alzheimer's and dementia, it's a big umbrella term. So when you say dementia, everybody kind of always thinks Alzheimer's. Well, dementia is just the term, and then there's a different signs and symptoms that will qualify you that you have some type of dementia. So Alzheimer's is the leading cause of dementia, and that's 80% of the people that you see. And you'll hear clinicians, even myself, we use it interchangeably when I say dementia. You know, I'm not necessarily meaning Alzheimer's, but then I'll also say Alzheimer's. You just hear it interchangeably. So the other types of dementia are, people used to call it hardening of the arteries, and that's vascular dementia. Frontal temporal lobe dementia. That's a lot of people that have frontal temporal lobe might be the earlier onset people that we see, maybe in their 50s and 60s, and we're seeing it even in 40s now. So, you know, you see that Lewy body dementia. So all of these are different types, and they just fall under that umbrella. But the reason everybody thinks Alzheimer's is it's the most prominent type, and it's 80% of it. So then you want to think about, you know, getting the right diagnosis. So, you know, everybody in this room is probably pretty young, and that's not something that we're thinking about right in the forefront of our mind. Although I bet a lot of people in here have said, you know, do I need to worry about that because I forget, or this, you know, myself, oh my gosh, do I need to assess myself because where did I put my keys? Well, let me just tell you, that's a daily thing for me. You know, so people just think that, you know, if you're a loved one, if you have, you know, people in your family or just family and friends that you might be concerned about, then what I'm going to talk about today might apply, and if not, it'd be good for information for in the future. Because I feel like probably everybody in this room knows somebody that has been affected by dementia, whether it's a family, friend, extended. You know, I feel like everywhere I go, somebody tells me a story about dementia. So one thing I want to say is it's really important to get the right diagnosis if somebody does have dementia or memory impairment. So I'll tell you a story. My cousin, I've had family members that have had dementia. My grandmother passed 7 years ago before I was ever a nurse. I have a cousin that has Lewy body dementia, and last January, 2 years ago, she was perfectly fine. Her health was fine, and she went and she had surgery. So she came out of that surgery, and she was a little off, not terrible, but not her normal self. 4 months later, she went under anesthesia again for another minor surgery. She came out of that, was never the same again. And so she ended up going from being an independent person to over 9 months period of time. She had to, her husband had to quit his job. He had to stay with her 24/7. She couldn't even say, I want to drink water. She couldn't even answer, I'm hungry. So she had been misdiagnosed with psychosis because of her age. Psychosis, depression, it's all an act. Finally, she was put in OSU hospital after 9 months of trying to figure out what it was. She'd been misdiagnosed. She had Lewy body dementia. And being put under, the anesthesia really kind of brought it on. And then she was getting misdiagnosed, she was getting the wrong medication. So once they got all the medication straightened around, her husband's back to work, she could stay alone, so she's being managed, but that's just one example of it's very important to get the right diagnosis. The other thing to think about is that if you're, there's things that are reversible that people might think that they have dementia, and it's reversible. So some of the things you think about would be, you might have an imbalance in your B vitamins. You might have an infection. With elderly people get an infection, a urinary tract infection, they're completely, off. And if you think there's something really seriously wrong, and it's really just an infection. So there's things that you want to go get checked about, and just to make sure, if you see somebody that you're questioning, maybe there's something that's reversible, and you want to do that now. And then the other thing is to get them on the medications that are out for dementia, because they all work in the earlier stages of dementia. So once you kind of get past that point, they still help somewhat. But if you're suffering from any kind of memory impairment, then if you get these medications on board earlier, and there's other things to do along with that are not medications, they just have a better, they can manage it better, they have more clarity. So those are just things to think about if you're thinking, oh, when I go through these, we better think about, just it's really the elephant in the room. And so when you're around somebody, just to think about that. So I'm just going to talk about the 10 warning signs that people have, and we'll talk about, is it normal aging or is it something that you should be concerned about? So one of the first things that we talk about, let me get to my first one here. So our first one is memory loss that disrupts your normal life. So if you're forgetting dates or events, or asking the same questions over and over, you're increasingly relying on memory aids. So if you see somebody that they're forgetting, you're seeing notes all over the place. And honestly, sometimes these are people that you may see in your workspace also, that it's becoming harder and harder for them to remember how to do their job. They'll start putting sticky notes to remind them. I do that too. It's, that's a normal thing also. So when I say one of these, that doesn't qualify somebody for memory loss. But if you see somebody that is experiencing 3 and 4 of these all the time, that might be a trigger to say, we might want to go have a conversation about this. So, so the first one is just memory loss that does disrupt your daily life. But let's think about people, if I am constantly forgetting, but then sometimes I might forget an appointment, or I remember it later. That's a normal thing. How many people think, oh, I forgot all about that appointment, but then you remember it later? That's normal. So that's just something that just to know the difference between those two. Another one that you would think about would be what are the challenges in planning and solving problems. So some people may experience changes in the ability to develop and follow a plan, like at work. They might have trouble following a familiar recipe. So, you may have an aunt that she has a specific thing that she makes all the time, but then she's forgetting how to do it. She might have to go and look at the recipe before, where she always could think of it at the top of her head. That might be something that you might think, oh, what's going on? And then the other thing is, there's many times that we make, that a normal part of aging would be if I'm making something and I just put an ingredient in, we all do that. It's more of a consistent thing. People are forgetting how to do certain things. Another one you might think about are difficulty with completing familiar tasks. So you might think of this really comes into driving. So if a person is driving and you notice it's taking them much longer to get to where they're going, You might notice they're getting dings on their car because they, what's going on? You're having so much trouble and you're backing into things. But really, they're going to the grocery store, but they're gone 2 hours because why? Because they were lost. That might be an issue, but people are really good at covering that too. People aren't always, unaware of the fact that they're having some cognitive issues. So they may come in and say, oh, I just decided to do, and they'll cover. So again, when we're looking at some of these things, we're looking at clusters of things that are going on. So they might have to, if they're going to be going grocery shopping, they can't just go in and put their meals together in their head. You go through and you think, I'm going to have to, they have to live by a list now. They're writing every single thing down because they're having so much issues with this. But then a normal, typical age-related, you might occasionally needing help to use the settings on a microwave or record a television show. So myself, I do not keep up with electronics. It's not something that I even want to do, So, of course, my kids make fun of me for it, but it's intimidating at this point, but it's a normal part of my life, I don't want to learn a new app on my phone. I don't need it, but, if I go in and I can't work my microwave, that's probably going to be an issue. Or if you have a new microwave and, that's the thing to change for people when you get the new electronic, something you use all the time. Most people who got a new microwave, you would be able to figure out how to do the start button and stuff. But people that have memory issues, if you switch out their remote, they're not going to be able to even probably know how to turn and navigate the TV. So, but if you sometimes need help with something like that, that's okay. And something else to remember about this is, and I mentioned this earlier, was our daily life being so stressful and just being so busy all the time. That plays a part in our memory, and it's not something that is something that is going to stay around all the time. Or it will affect us permanently. Years ago, I actually drove up to get gas, and I stopped and I looked at the pump, and I stood there and I could not pump that gas. I had to read how to pump it. But at that time in my life, my mother was dying, and she was actively dying. So I had gotten lost going somewhere too. Those stress factors play a part in our memory and our brain, how our brain functions. So when you're thinking of this and you're looking at people that may have some of these symptoms, you want to also look and think, is there something else going on? Is there something else going on in my life or their life that I'm seeing some of this? Because it could be things that are causing that. So I just want to mention that. I was so afraid when that happened. It was years ago, and I just, am I having a breakdown? I really was under so much stress that your brain can only handle so much stress at one time. So just to keep that in mind. Vision changes. So people, if you see people that are getting off balance, people that are having memory issues, it's not that, let's just call it brain failure, because if you have heart failure, your heart's not working. If you have kidney failure, your kidneys aren't working right. If you have brain failure, your brain is not working right. So sometimes you'll see people kind of get off balance. You'll see them kind of walk around things that maybe we would not even think about. If there's a road there or a step, maybe they'll fall off that step, not realizing if there's carpet on the steps too, that if you've got to step up or down. Well, it's your vision doesn't, when you have cognitive impairment, it's your brain that's not able to connect that, there's a step up there. It can't really put those together. So you may see something like that. You might also see people that in a normal age-related issue with your eyesight would be cataracts. People get cataracts and move on to their check and see, are they having something else go on with their vision, or it could even be that, with aging, our sight gets worse sometimes. We just need to go into correction. So just to keep those in mind. Something else that you might see is new problems with words or speaking or writing. So, a lot of times people that have memory impairment, they'll start, how many times do you go through the names of maybe your kids or your, Ashley Ann, that's normal, we all do that, because if that's not normal, we're probably all trying to do that.
Thankfully, but that's no.
And so, it's just, that's common. What's not common is, this is something my mother-in-law, I'm kind of watching her a little bit closer. She said, I want to go to that place, and you start describing it, and this can happen in normal too. So you want to see if it's something, collective, continuing to happen, or collective, just different symptoms, signs and symptoms you see. But she said, I want to go to, and she was trying to describe a cemetery. She said, that big place, the big one where we bury everybody. And I was like, cemetery? Yeah, a cemetery. And she's had other things, I try to caution myself, this is what I do for a living, so I don't want to upset everybody. But, also, you see other signs that, she said and things that I'm like, okay, you need to be watching her. But, so the difference would be, sometimes, as I said, we would, maybe you forget a person's name that you worked with 2 years ago and it comes to you 5 days later. We all do that. But it's really the forgetting the, like I said, the cemetery, or just starting to describe things instead of being able to really come up with the name. That's something you need to think about. Misplacing and losing the ability to retrace your steps. This is a big one probably for everyone also. This kind of goes along with our busy schedules. How many times do you, and I say I do this on the daily, I lose my keys. It's just a running joke in my family, I don't know, I'm sure you lost your keys, because I always lose my keys. And, I'm getting better, I'm gonna start keeping them on a hook now. But, when you're so busy, you walk in, you might have 15 things in your hands, and you walk in, and your keys get left wherever you dump the first load of stuff. You run in, you're getting ready to you have to take a call, you gotta hurry up and get out the door again. That's normal. But if you're noticing that somebody, for me, it's normal. If I wasn't looking for my keys, that would be abnormal, But it's these things that you start seeing gradually. These they're constantly looking for things. And then the other thing they do is they blame everybody else that they're taking their things, because really they're misplacing their things and they're thinking somebody's stealing their stuff. So you might also find something that's in the refrigerator that the controller, come on, listen, it's in the refrigerator. That's really something we see, or you might see food in the drawer, just odd, very odd things that people see. But again, people that are in the early stages of this, they start trying to cover up, they will hide it. You'll have couples that will kind of cover up for each other. How many times have you seen couples that are together so long that they finish each other's sentences? But now they kind of cover up for each other, and they don't really even realize they're doing it. When I worked in the adult day center, I would say, have they had any decline recently? We had people that was early, very early stages, middle stages, and late stages of dementia. And they said, oh, not in 6 months they have it. I have to look at them now. But then I noticed they're having to maybe assist this person to eat. But we adapt to other people's needs that we love because, just our loved ones, because that's what we do. It happens so gradually, So people also start covering for each other, and a lot of times they don't realize it. A spouse may not realize that, their loved one never did, they never cooked hardly at all, so they don't also realize they're not using the stove as often as they used to, so it may not be noticeable because in the first place, they don't realize now they don't know how to use, Anyhow, so those are one thing that you might want to think about. But if you are losing things and you can think back and retrace your steps, you go back outside and okay, well, what did I do? I went in, I dropped off my and you find, then that's normal part of aging. Another one is decreased report judgment. So a good one with this again is when you're thinking and driving. Somebody that is starting to have some cognitive impairment, you know, when you're driving, we know that when we're driving down the street or parking our car, those yellow lines, we've got to get in between those yellow lines. We have to stop so far before the stop sign. We can judge all that. You know, people that have memory impairment, their brain is, you know, affected, and they cannot judge anymore. They don't have that ability to really start judging things like that. So just space in general. And then, you know, they might start using words also that they shouldn't be using. You know, if you notice, my grandmother, when she had dementia, before she had dementia, she was at our church, and she was leading all kinds of different programs at our church, and she was the missionary leader. When she was in her full-blown dementia stage, she was cussing me out on the daily, you know, so, you know, they change, and they don't have that, gate, you know, so you might see that, but a normal part of aging may be that you just make a bad decision every now and then, you make mistakes, you realize I made a mistake, move on, and, you know, you can't fix it. It's the people that make the mistakes, they don't even know they made a mistake, you know, they just keep on moving, and they don't know what they don't know. So that's something that we think about. Other things, people that would withdraw from work or social activities. So we find people that have a higher IQ can cover a little bit longer. You know, they can, for some reason, they have the ability to just cover up a little bit, and then all of a sudden everything releases. But one reason that people will start withdrawing from their activities and at work are because they know that they're having trouble keeping up. So they may not be able to participate in an activity. They may not be able to participate in the conversation because they can't follow the conversation. So they're trying to follow along with the conversation. Their brain's not keeping up. So they may say something off the wall because it was something that was mentioned, you know, 3 or 4 minutes ago, and they're just now able to kind of jump in that conversation, and they're aware of that, so they'll try to pull back and not go to some of those activities sometimes. And then other reasons, they may just feel like, you know, socially, they don't even remember that there's an activity going on. You know, they're just quiet because they, you know, when somebody has dementia, if I'm asked, do you want to go do this or that? And, yeah, I'll go, but they can't on their own make those connections. Tuesday night is this, I won't go to that, so you'll start seeing this in activities. But, you know, in our normal aging life, often we don't want to do as much as we wanted to do when we were younger. A lot of times, some people do, but, you know, we find that we just as soon get home, and we're selective with the people that we want to spend our time with, you know, so we'd rather do something with 10 really close friends than, you know, 200, you know, fake friends or something. It's not as important to do sometimes as you age. And then the last one that we talk about is changes in our mood and personality. So people, we've talked about this also. They start becoming confused, depressed, fearful, and anxious. So, and that's also part of, it's kind of a vicious circle for people when they're having some memory issues, because I would be anxious if I thought I was really having some memory issues, you know. And then so whenever you're kind of anxious and you're forgetful already, it's going to cause you to have some, it's just kind of a vicious circle, and I'm even more anxious. And then that makes me maybe depressed, you know, depression goes right along with dementia also. And then also I might be, you know, angry because I know something's going on, or I might be angry because things are happening around me that is really making me, you know, have some anxiety, you know. So we start acting ways that the way we express ourselves then might be, you know, just be defensive, you know. So we see a lot of those behaviors. We also see a lot of people that are misdiagnosed, especially in their 40s and 50s, because that's not a normal age to think about having some cognitive impairment. And many times people are diagnosed if they have depression instead, and they'll go through years of just torment with the family. The family knows what it's in, they don't know what to do, and they're misdiagnosed. My cousin's a perfect example. But a lot of times they'll have these symptoms, and people will think they're crazy. They're just doing this to aggravate me. You know, I see that a lot, and they're not. They don't know what they don't know. You know, so a lot of times we just see that they're misdiagnosed, they're depressed, or they're just having kind of issues that are just not normal, some things or whatever. So anyhow, we'll see that. But some typical age-related things that you might see with this is you may see people that are irritated if their normal routine is disrupted. I'm irritated if my routine gets interrupted. Sometimes, yes, I'm going to admit it. No, I don't have time to do that. You see, I'm busy. That's normal. We're all going to react if we are not able to go up to our normal routine. Not everything. Not that everything's going to cause us to act that way, but certainly if we have things that's going to keep us from doing what we need to do, we won't try. Or if my grandkids are jumping on me and I've got something to do, I won't be able to irritated about that. I mean, this is normal life. We all know that. So that is its own warning signs. I want to say that it's very important that if you notice these, to again remember that what's going on around somebody. Is it just, do they have an infection? Are they sick? Are they depressed? What is really going on with this person? If it's just one thing, it's probably not dementia. But if it's 3 or 4 of these things, it's probably time to go to the doctor and say, this is going on. Have some blood tests done, see if it's really something we need to be concerned about, or is it just something that, now we need to monitor and see what's going on.
So I recently have had to deal with this with my own sister. She's 61, was put in a nursing home, and she's alcoholic, but she was put in a nursing home for observation on her kidneys. But when I started going to visit her, I noticed immediately her memory, her short-term memory is gone.
Yes.
Asking me the same thing over and over, literally forgetting that I came 10 minutes later, and I was very, very concerned about that. And no one there, she's only been there a week, so we're having finally a planning meeting, but no one has addressed it. And when I spoke to the administrator, he said basically they didn't have, he wasn't sure they noticed. I said a 10-minute conversation with her, you can tell. So what I wanted to know was someone else said that it could have been alcohol-induced dementia. And does that reverse itself, or does it?
If it's alcohol-induced dementia, usually that would not reverse itself. But I would also caution you to know that a few things could be going on. If she has kidney disease and she has toxins in her system, they would need to get rid of the toxins that are lower, because that will cause her to have some confusion for sure. If she has something going on like that. Also, if she has a little bit of dementia going on, cognitive impairment, they call it in the very early stages mild cognitive impairment. People function just fine.
She functions, and she can do the day-to-day, she can remember people, but she might not remember I came to visit her.
And that could be a few things. One, it could be that she has toxins in her system from kidney disease. 2, it could be that just being in a new environment, if she is experiencing some issues, being in a new environment will automatically start causing psychosis. So you can see what's the difference.
A little psychosis.
Exactly. Yes. So that could be going on. I have such a that same thing going on too. So I think that if you bring it to their attention, because you know your sister and you know it's different. We was in the same boat. You have to say, this is not normal.
Right, and that's exactly what I'm saying.
And so we need some testing done, so I'll have them do some testing. And remember that some of it could be environmental as well.
Okay.
But I would advocate for her because, also if she has dementia, there's certain drugs she should not be having. She should not be, you want them to really look at that.
Anybody else have any questions?
Well, thank you, really appreciate being here. If you do ever have a meeting and want us to come out and do, some speaking, we have multiple different educations, something like this as well. Everything's free. If you do have family members or loved ones, just so you know, some of our programs are, we offer a free care consultations where we meet with the families, kind of get them out in the community to the resources that they need. So, you know, you can always have them refer to us and we can meet with them.
Yeah, and if you have some cards or
I do.
something, that would be great.
And I have a copy of the 10 morning signs that I can give you as well.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hey, so next we're going to talk about the Kindness Coast to Home campaign, because you've seen the flyers. If anyone is actually willing to get to know your neighbors and just start having some type of event or something going on at your house where you can invite your neighbors, there's a kit that you can get. I guess you would scan this so you can learn more about it. But, you know, you can have a neighborhood gathering, get RSVPs, and just kind of stay connected, let people know how it goes. You have your own little, we're having a national night out coming up on August 1st. And we asked people that they would get on their porches and just kind of get to know your neighbors. And this kind of goes along with that because, you know, it's always good to have good neighbors. I have great neighbors. Ryan actually lives across the street from me. Chris is around the corner from me. My next door neighbor, he's great. He works at this bar called Parable, but it's a coffee shop during the day and a bar at night. And it's cool, right?
It's the old Cup of Joe Mojo in the Lazarus building.
Okay. Yeah, and he's using the berries from our berry patch. And so,
Nice.
you know, we get together all the time, aren't we? Like, it was so funny that I had a hip replacement. And so once I was healed, I used to love to cut grass, and I would cut everybody's front of their grass that was like the little walk up. And so here I am, I'm anxiously out there doing the grass. Here comes Ryan, here comes my neighbor, and here comes another neighbor. You okay? You okay? You need help? I'm like, what? Let me try. Try this thing out, you know? But it was so funny that everybody ran out to help me, and it made me feel so good to know that I had really good neighbors that were looking out for me. So that's what this kindness initiative thing is about, because having really good neighbors and knowing who they are and looking out for each other goes a long way in building strong communities. And just being able to know that someone is there for you. So please really take this seriously and really consider having something for your neighbors. Okay, we did actually during the pandemic a porch pop-up.
Oh, we did, yeah, that was
It
pretty
was
cool.
another great way to get to know each other.
We
like
like
it.
Maybe 6 or 7 neighbors that participated, and then residents would just walk up to the front of someone's house, and then we would hand like a to-go bag, like something
Yeah.
that was disposable.
Yeah. It
And then we
had
just sort of organized like different
gazpacho and
meals. It was like soup
Yeah,
and sides. And
yeah, it was
That's
great.
cool.
Yeah, I did brats. I just roasted
Yeah.
brats on the front porch and came up with rack of us. We had to be real creative. Yeah. So yeah, so just think about doing something like this. This time is really does. It really does. Okay, now Amanda, if you would like to come up and talk to us about CPO, please, and explain what it is, what we do, and
So I frequently will just refer to it as CPO, but it's Community Properties
Yes.
of Ohio, and we provide income-based affordable housing here in Columbus. We have just under 1,000 units, but about 250 of those in Wyland Parks community,
Yes,
so
yes.
lots of units
very
there.
proud of that.
But my role at CPO is resident services. So our team is there to support residents with whatever that looks like for them. So housing stabilization, child care, early education, school supplies, when people are ready to move beyond CPO, if there's connections that they're interested in terms of financial planning, whatever, people show up and are in need of, that's kind of what resident services is there to do. Also getting out into the community, we know that the CPO community cannot be strong if our entire community is not strong, so really trying to focus on full community and engagement and participation. So we're frequently out, our teams in the community doing cleanup, talking with our residents, trying to organize different events to get just the community together, not just CPO residents, but our community together. So truly about, that's what makes CPO different, is it's truly about supporting that resident in their housing. We have, there's about 10 of us in resident services. Prior to me coming about 2 years ago, we had a whole lot more prior to COVID resident services. We were probably up around 30, so we're a much smaller team now. When you think about just under 1,000 units with a team of 10, we are very much, even when we're in the community, it's about depending on our community partners, linkage, referral, connecting. If you're having community events, that we can table at or partner with or bring resources in, that's important for us just to be able to meet the demand sometimes of what residents need. So that's a very brief overview of what CPO and resident services is, but I'd be happy to answer any questions or anything that you might have.
Were you guys aware that we're going to have a Wineland Park Festival on August 19th?
I was not.
We can give you some more information so you guys can set up like a resource table at our event.
That would be great. And our resident services team, obviously we only serve our residents in CPO.
Are you having participation from the residents? Do you have any who are kind of emerging like a leader, any leadership skills?
Not at this moment. So we've struggled a little bit post-COVID because a lot of our activities and just neighborhood activities stopped, and so kind of re-engaging, and we had our entire staff turned over. So building those relationships, getting them used to coming back out to activities or us being in the neighborhood. Trust is a big thing. So making sure that we have to have that trust to build those relationships and get people engaged. We're partnering with Central Community House to host neighborhood network meetings and just getting the community together. What do you want? What do they want to talk about? What's on their agenda? What do they want from resident services teams or the community, and what can we be doing? With the hopes that we will be able to bring back kind of a resident advisory council, or get our residents at the table where decisions are being made. We know that that's how we're going to be the most effective at our job and as a housing provider here. So
we're actually putting together also a community night. So
we are. We're thinking it'll be over at Joyce Hughes Park, which is right around the condos that were built around Grant and closer to Fifth Avenue.
definitely a walking distance.
Yeah.
there's certain things that I'm aware of. We always participate in Trunk or Treat or National Night Out, but yeah, we are definitely, if you have information, or obviously you can probably look on the website.
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
I know
The
in,
festival first. So.
before Tanya and I sort of organized the festival last year, CPO would come and have like a basketball tournament at some of the prior basketball.
Dante Sledge was a legend when I took over. Every resident knew when you said resident services, they would tell me about him, and he's over at Central Community House, and I was so excited to meet him. But yes, he did. He was the one that did the basketball tournament. So we'll have to get our staff.
We know if you're coming.
I'm not sure. I mean, you guys are more than welcome to set up a table, and if the other groups within CPO want to come as well.
And that's when I met the goal of the residents at the CPO housing is at the festival.
Yeah.
So a lot of parents come and bring their children, and the Wineland Park Wildcats have a lot of CPO children, resident children that are on the teams, the cheerleading team. So you may want to reach out to Coach Juan and his wife to me. Well, I'm surprised they're not here on the call, but they might be a practice actually.
Yeah.
They're probably a practice.
We did have some interactions with Chad Kettler before. Zora's house was breaking ground at the property, so he had come when CPO was thinking of maybe having some sort of. They had a few ideas that they were bouncing around, and then ended up, looping in. I don't know if it was campus partners, and then somehow Zora's house got involved in acquiring that property.
Yeah, but they are very interested part of this community. We fought very hard when we were going through the revitalization process to keep CPO housing and the residents in the neighborhood, because a lot of them are generational as well. So, you know, we just want it to be a big, diverse community, and they're very much a part of it. So just know that we're here for you, partner with you, and any issues that you have, if you reach out to us. I literally have no problem walking around and talking and meeting people either.
And also, if there are things going on or, you know, that we may not be aware of, that you want us to be aware of or involved in, you know, absolutely reach out. You know, that helps us. As I said, government services is a smaller team, and, you know, sometimes the community is aware of, you know, activities or things going on prior to us.
I have a question, so I think you know who I am.
I do. How are you?
I'm good. There's some two. For a little bit of context, I live next to one of the CPO properties, and there were some people who were probably not on the lease who managed to move into some of the properties because one of the people, and they managed to take advantage of those older people and moved in and caused safety issues for both the residents of the CPO property, as well as the neighbors of that property. And so I think one of my big concerns is, and you were talking about this, was kind of like building that trust with your residents and stuff like that. And, you know, I see it as since you are housing vulnerable people who can be taken advantage of, like in the scenario that happens at the property next to mine, what kind of things are y'all like either doing right now or planning to do in the future to, you know, help those residents be able to trust y'all, so that way if there is something like this that happens where people are starting to get taken advantage of and it's hurting the other people who happen to live at those properties, but also the properties around it, you know, what kind of steps are y'all doing to help protect your residents from other bad actors who might be taking advantage of them?
Which is a great question. So to speak specifically to your situation, what's going on, it's a little bit different, that building trust, because it's a little bit bigger than 10 resident services person with what's going on there. We're engaging in conversations with Halt Violence, Sal Robinson. I'm not sure if you know him, but our goal would be to have him start those conversations, build some relationships, figure out what's what, surface value. There may be other things that are going on within that corridor that we're not aware of, but that's kind of what he and his team does. And then to be able to vouch for us, bring us in, establish those relationships as resident services. So in that context, we are leaning on community partners who that's what they do to then hopefully bring us in and have those relationships. You know, in terms of just in general, you know, a lot of what we do is engaging residents right when they come in. So resident services attempts to go out to all new move-ins. We try to meet with them the first day of lease signing, but as you can imagine, then if you do property management, people want their keys, they want to get moved in, and so meeting with resident services to hear what we do might not be high on the priority list. And especially depending on where they're coming from, if they were housing unstable prior or coming from shelter, so their priority isn't meeting with me or my team, but we do try to, you know, over the next 60 days, get out, take them a welcome gift, meet with them, just let them know who CPO is and why we're different, and, you know, all the resources that we have or can connect to. And our hopes is, you know, through that engagement, being able to build that relationship so they know that we're there should they need it. The reality is we can't prevent when that happens, but it's being able to talk about with neighbors or people, if you're noticing things that are happening around you, the importance of communicating that. But we also know that comes with being careful, not wanting to get pulled into things or being a snitch in the community. So there's all these tentacles that go into that. But in terms of that's what we're currently doing, and that's for your neighborhood or your specific corridor, engaging in conversation, partnering with Halt Violence.
Yeah, so the Halt Violence, are they supposed to be responsible for, is it just for our corridor? So
Right
is there any like bigger plan to kind of be more Because when we moved in, it wasn't an issue, right? So, and obviously now it's getting fixed, which we're thankful for, but at the same time, it's after like several shootings and you know, drug dealing and stuff like that. And it seemed to me when the problem started, it was a nuisance, but it wasn't a safety hazard per se. And then eventually it gets worse and worse and worse and worse. And to me, it would seem better to have some sort of systems where you can be more proactive as opposed to letting it get to where it got to. And now we're going in and doing all these things where, you know, I mean, people have gotten shot, right? And they'd rather deal with it before people start getting shot.
100%, I agree with you, and, you know, I can't speak to that, I don't know, you know, I would want Chad to speak to that, but of when we became aware of what we did, but I agree with you, that I'm sure there's more that could have been done, there always is, and I'm sorry that that's what you have experienced.
Well, and I'm speaking less about my specific situation, because once again, it's almost completely taken care of, but just like preventing it from happening again. It's probably not, I mean, the chances of it happening next to me are very slim, like twice in a row, but just in terms of other properties in the neighborhood, right? I mean, you know, if you have people living in the neighborhood, I think if they see these sorts of things, they're going to be less willing to want CPO properties, but other properties in the neighborhood if they're seeing these kinds of things happening or hearing about it and things. I mean, it's a good service, right? You know, you don't want it to go away because people don't like it, but you know, how do you prevent it from becoming a problem to where we're just reacting?
You know, and I think I don't have an answer to that. If I'm being transparent, I can't, you know, solve it. My hopes are that leaning on community, things like this, we're getting to know the neighbors, you know, to increase that support, those natural supports and, you know, relationships, I think is, you know, one thing that helps with that, us getting out and, you know, doing community cleanup and meeting residents. But the reality is CPO can't do it alone, and it's through a lot of partnership with community partners and figuring out how we can do it together. This is now that this isn't isolated to Lyman Park, we know it's a problem in our community, but I don't have a quick answer for preventative. It's something that we are looking at and thinking about and always trying to, you know, what can we do? Are there different ways to handle, you know, our engagement strategy? So it's something that, and I'm always open to a conversation if you have ideas, because as we said, bringing residents to the table, I think is going to be the most effective for us because they're going to help. I'm not going to know the same way that resident living in the community might help me to know this is what to think about and this is what we should be doing. So, but it's a stepped process that's taking time and building that trust. So it's been challenging. But
our neighborhood has evolved quite a bit. I've only been in the neighborhood since 2014, but just from then till now, I mean, it's changed pretty drastically. And then, you know, around COVID, maybe it got a little worse, but I live right next to a CPO property, and I haven't personally had any problem with two buildings next to me, but I know like across the street there have been occasions of like some brawls and fights, but there was one lady that had lived right next to me, and she lived in our neighborhood, maybe a few blocks away, and she was displaced from her house because it caught on fire, and she got placed into a CPO apartment, and then she got like a job at Children's Hospital, and then I'm not sure like what happened, you know, with her. I'm hoping, you know, she placed, you know, to like a permanent home. So I'm hoping, you know, with her, you know, she had a favorable outlook. And
I believe a lot of the residents have gained a sense of pride with the revitalization of the neighborhood. And let me say, the properties look beautiful.
Yeah.
You know, they really are well kept and they look really beautiful. There was an issue with trash cans, therefore, not the trash being outside the dumpsters, but I believe that's been removed. And Chad is very good. We talked to him about what best fix that. And I wanted to say that like a resident council would be wonderful because, again, they know what is needed more than anyone. Yeah. And they have relationships within their communities as well. And it gives them an opportunity to take ownership as partners. Because a lot of times people distance themselves when they don't feel a part of. And that is why it's my goal to have everyone at the table. That's why, you know, we're here all in our professional capacities, but I don't think it's a plus because we can also be thinking of ways that we can bring our own clients and tenants and parents that, you know, in the community, how we bring everybody together. You know, like it would have been awesome if everyone, you could have brought one person, you know, invited a parent, invited some tenants, you know, invited, you know, a parents or a friend, and, you know, just a residents and just invited them to come and then have them, you know, that old adage, they tell two and so on and so on. So let's think about doing that going forward. Even when you go to another agency, civic or somewhere, bring in here the people you work with, and your friends, just, you know, try it.
We've tried to get, you know, just the civic, you know, people aware of us, and it's hard because like when COVID happened, you know, every business of every industry has struggled, and to rebound from that has been a challenge.
It has been a challenge, man. You should have seen our Christmas party. It was online though, and I literally went door to door, dropping off mugs and hot chocolates and peppermints and little tchotchkes in them. I literally did. Anybody that put their name out there, I did. And it was so bad. Because people showed up and it was a lot of fun, but it was a challenge, you know, running a civic during that. But we did a puppy parade, July 4th porch contest. We had to figure it out. So I know we can do it. And I really think that that would be a good start.
And my email is listed, so please feel free to reach out to me directly if it's resident related, you have ideas about community engagement strategy. You know, I'd be happy to talk through any of the things that we're thinking and doing, or, you know, updates as we go through the process.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And you can say one things.
That's I don't really have anything prepared, but, you want me to go here and like?
Right. It's okay.
Megan, we support you.
Right.
Okay, so I'm Megan, I'm with Celebrate One. We are part of the mayor's office, but we are working to try to reduce racial disparities in the city, which in turn will help reduce infant mortality. Because at this point in the city, Black and brown babies are dying at a rate of 2.5 times.
Ma'am, for your attention, please. The library will only be open for another 30 minutes. If you need to arrange for a ride, please do so at this time.
2.5 times more than white babies. So that's a major problem in the city, especially since there are certain zip codes, which 43201 is now the second highest in the city. So we are losing 2 to 3 babies a week in some of these neighborhoods. And a lot of that is just due to lack of resources, lack of medical professionals that minorities are comfortable with going to, and just general not listening to women when they tell anyone that they're struggling.
Yeah.
So Celebrate One has always been very, very focused on safe sleep, and now we're trying to expand out to treat moms more as human beings. We know there's a lot more that goes into both moms and dads or any parenting person in the home, but we're expanding out into postpartum health, specifically postpartum depression. Also, I'm going to be doing a project on addiction and how that's affecting moms or fathers. We have lactation support, we have free pack and plays, we do emergency car seats. I mean, we do just a little bit of everything. We're also a short-term referral agency, so we're not doing like case management or anything like that. We have a referral process where moms can get linked, and within 30 days, we would like to get them linked with everything possible and then close it out. But we mainly focus on families that are either expecting or they have kids who are under the age of 1. But like I said, now that we're trying to expand it out, it's going into helping other like toddlers or older kids that are also in the family. Yeah.
When you, when I just saw this, and it's different from, 5 to 5, are you transitioning over to those mothers and families that started with Celebrate Glen? Are you transitioning over to 5 to 5? Or is it just like 2 separate organizations that aren't even connected?
We are no longer connected, but we still, like I said, we're still partnered with them. So we would definitely refer families over there because that's a great spot for families to go, especially families that live down by Parsons and Whittier. And we have different neighborhood integration managers for different parts of the city. So like while I'm focused on the central area, we have Tiffany that would be down on the south side. I have Alexis out on the east side. Rachel is up in Linden, and then I have Brianna who's out on the west side. So between any of us, we can get you guys linked with anyone who needs to be. And then we have a connector team that focuses more on actually connecting with the moms.
You have tenants?
I don't,
So,
but I'll bring
yeah,
them
how
next
would we
time.
get, how would
You
you
know.
get you, because I really need to probably partner with you on some stuff. But
Yeah.
So since I got your contact info, I will reach out to everyone tomorrow, send out some emails and kind of get that going. Because we have like a QR code that you can either do it as the provider, or you can have the mom or parent, they can scan it, and it's a super short referral process, and someone will then call them back within 48 hours.
And their child doesn't have to be 0 to 1.
That's the main goal, is to make sure that all the babies are celebrating their first birthday.
Right.
But if there are other kids in the home, then we would still like to help. We also have a Northside baby shower coming up. It's August 29th. So I can share that info with you too, and maybe you can send it out on an email blast. So, and that can be anyone in the city. You don't have to only live in the North Side. Yeah.
How fun.
And there's a QR code on that as well, where if they register beforehand, they can get a free diaper bag that's full of diapers, wipes, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Very good.
I have a question about one thing you said.
Sure.
You said 43201, which is the zip code for my daycare.
Yeah.
Has the second highest infant mortality rate in the city. Is that for minorities or just?
Just in general,
I thought that had gone down,
it,
which is
came
why
back
they, oh, did it come back up soon
Yeah.
as, so soon as, you all left the neighborhood?
I'm also working with
Moms to
the,
be, are you on Moms to be?
Moms to Be is through Ohio.
Oh, I
State.
say, so that's
Yeah.
not you all, okay. So they left the neighborhood and, then all of a sudden, oh, it's going back up.
Yeah, and another one of my projects that is kind of a little unofficial at this point is I'm also including neighborhood and community violence. And that's one thing that's really affecting the zip code is babies, people are thinking that babies are dying of SIDS. And when they get to the corner, they're having broken bones. And so domestic violence is skyrocketing over here. So I've been working with the community liaisons to try to see how we can combat that.
Thank you for telling us, I didn't know that. That needs to be known. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me.
Katie, and then.
My lovely assistant, Danielle, is going to pass out some of our postcards. So I'm Katie Beaumont from At Home by High. I'm super excited about the festival. We're going to have a table there. We serve older adults in not only Wyland Park, but the surrounding neighborhoods as well. So the Short North, Milo Grogan is included as well. So we serve adults ages 50 plus. We've served a lot of CPO residents, and We also serve folks living at their own homes, rental homes, apartments, anything that folks can live in, we serve. So the goal is to keep folks in their homes, whatever they look like, for as long as possible and in the communities that they love. So we not only provide services, primarily transportation, but also events and activities. So this is literally our hangout every Tuesday. We're in this room doing our coffee meetup from 10 to 11:30. We get about over 20 people now coming in hot for some coffee, some bingo, and just chat. So the goal is for us, the primary goal is to make sure that people feel connected, supported, build that trust. I have no preconceptions about how folks age. Everybody ages differently. So some folks need our services at age 50. Others just want to hang out. Some folks don't need our services ever. And that's okay. But we're there for folks if they need it. And I always say, sometimes I need services. I need someone to hang out with. I need help getting to the doctor occasionally. Our service coordinator broke her ankle, and I had to transport her all around to her doctor's appointments and things like that. She was in her 20s. I'm like, come on now. But we can all use help occasionally. So the goal is that, we are in the neighborhoods that we serve constantly, and we can go from one place to another very easily. Liz is here from Victorian Heritage. We serve over 20 folks in the building. Almost all. I think we're up to like 26. And then at Michigan School, we serve about 15 or so residents. We started community gardens at both apartment buildings to give folks the option to plant, enjoy, and appreciate their space. That has been amazing and so lovely to see it grow. So we really try to hear what our members want. We try to really just provide a social network. Connecting neighbors with neighbors is our goal. And we really want to build more community, have neighbors volunteer and give back if they have the ability and the desire. Transportation is our #1 service. So getting folks to and from doctor's appointments, grocery store, events and activities. I use my personal car to get everybody from here to there. Look, we do too much. No, but so the more people that help, the more people can get out. Social isolation is so detrimental to mental health. It escalates dementia. It escalates chronic health issues. And so keeping people connected and really building that trust is very important to me. My mother had dementia. She passed away in 2016, and so I created At Home by High because I knew I needed help and didn't have it in the community. I didn't have caregiver respite. I didn't have someone that could hang out with my mom or my daughter while I ran to get groceries, or stay with my daughter so she didn't have to go to every medical appointment of my mother's. So I know how important it can be and how important connections can be, and knowing you can rely on your neighbors.
That's right.
Right? And seeing each other and saying, how are you doing this? Like just the smiles and the connections, it doesn't have to be big actions. We can do a service, Danielle, in like 2 seconds flat. What's wrong with your phone? I got you. And so it's making sure that people know that there's someone that can help. And it's not always me. It's not always Danielle. It can be you. I mean, you help a lot. But yeah, it's making these connections and knowing that people can come as they are. We serve anyone and everyone, folks that have shown signs of dementia, folks that have addictions, folks that are not always pleasant, and everything in between. And so I always say, we don't care about your past. We don't care about, anything other than, are you here to share community with us? So I did bring a sample of our little calendar. It's not completely finished, so we're probably adding a couple of new things, but we do food pantry delivery for our low-income folks once a month. We do coffee meetups once a week. We go to Milo Grogan Rec Center to hang in the art room once a week. We're gonna do a fishing trip next week. I mean, not next week, next month. We're going to the fair next week. So we try to do a lot of, but we're also taking folks to vote after our coffee meetup on Tuesday. What's that? So we're trying to make sure that folks feel involved, feel respected, and can come and just enjoy each other. The friendships that have started,
That's awesome.
I mean, are so ridiculously cute. I can't even. It's like they bring little presents to each other at coffee meetup, like, oh, I saw this and I thought of you. And I'm like, stop it.
And then I must say, they do look out for each other. I know when I came in, I was like, oh my gosh.
And it
Like,
grows.
they're
It
very
grows.
protective of, and they're their own, their neighbors, they really look out for each other.
It's really
So,
like,
yeah.
we started in 2018 with services and regular events and activities. So we're a very young organization, and to see the friendships and the community, like a lot of our volunteers and members checked on each other during the pandemic that without prompting. They're like, oh, don't worry about calling James and Pat because I already talked to them earlier. They're cool.
Yeah.
So it's lovely to see, and I want to see it grow.
Yeah.
So if you have any residents that live in, single family or townhomes with, shared generations, we would love to connect with them. If they want something to do during the day, we're here, and we provide services really to all members and our residents. So if we have grandparents caring for grandbabies, bring them the coffee. I love squeezing cheeks. Seriously. My whole goal is to get as much intergenerational activity as possible to, again, make sure people are not just safe in their home. Like, I can't go. I got 2 crazies under 5 that I'm taking care of right now. Just bring them. Just bring them. They can be them. You can be you. We'll take care of those little things. I would love to see more of that kind of stuff. We only have like 5 people go to Milo Grogan Rec Center a week. And the manager was like, why do you keep coming? And I was like, because for those 5 people, it is everything.
It's everything. Yeah. I hear you.
It's everything. It's time away. And they can, I'm sorry. Sorry. Oh, look, I'm terrible. That's just a reminder. So anyway, we would love to continue growing partnerships, continue serving more people, continue adding more volunteers. So feel free to reach out to me anytime. If you have a referral, all you have to do is email or call me. But every Tuesday, talking about anyone's welcome. Partners, people.
Please complete your tasks, arrange for a ride
That's
home, and print or receive your.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wonderful. And we wanted to do more with it too.
I'm glad it's short, because I was talking. So again, I'm Molly Stella. I'm gonna pass these out real quick. These are just our flyers. Our website is still being worked on. We're brand new. We opened July 10th.
Congratulations.
Thrive Early Learning
My
Academy.
grandson, it goes there. He is.
But
Thank you.
we love to be in a community. I love this community. I mean, I actually had a daycare before in the same spot, and dissolved and parted ways with my business partner. But I have a new one, and she has 30 years literally, and I'm 51. She's younger than me. 30 years experience in childcare, and so she's been wonderful. And our enrollment is going well, but one of the main reasons I pass that out is because we are looking to boost enrollment. It's tough. It's a tough industry to be in, and to be honest, it's not tough with the kids and the parents, it's tough with our funding. So we're constantly looking for ways to fund and then just obviously boosting enrollment and being able to serve those in the community. Thank you for inviting me.
I think once they know you're here and you'll have a booth at the Civic,
Yeah.
and we'll get a lot of parents who live in the
Oh, you'll
community
see.
and want their babies
Yeah.
We'll
close
see lots of
by.
parents.
Yeah,
and
we
kids.
have-
It's right across from the daycare.
Yeah, we have parents who walk. I mean, I love it. So some of this, you who I've met and learned about what you do in your organization, so I'm excited to link up with you all. And I mean, I wrote our names at the bottom because we don't have our business cards yet, but my business partner is Erica. She's actually my 22-year-old's godmother. I've been asking her for years to do this with me, and she finally took the leap out of, into being an entrepreneur. So anyway, she's in there most of the time. I pop in and out. I run more of the business side, and I get out and do the sales and stuff like this. Sales. So anyhow, but just reach out to me for anything, or I've been in Columbus all my life, and I have a lot of connections, and I would love to share whatever you need. My other job is I have a title insurance company, so I am in the real estate industry. So yeah, I'm constantly doing that as well. But this is what we have in Mylan Park, and we're excited to be in the community. Everybody is. We really enjoy it. Thank you so much for inviting me.
You take government funding, like
We
Title
do.
20.
Title 20,
They certainly do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're gonna be good. And I just moved a lot of single mothers and young kids, like 6 weeks. And I'm
Things like solar adults, we got you covered.
So, again, I don't know where a lot of the residents were tonight. Because we usually do have right for you to come, but I don't feel it was a bust because we all had a chance to know who we good are, what resources we have available to us, and how we can build stronger partnerships in the community, right? So again, bring a person with you next time you come either here or anywhere else, like one of the people that you work with. And, first of all, it's a start of a leadership journey for them. And secondly, it's a way to get more people involved and then ask them to invite someone too. Because, the pandemic did us all in. And we have to figure a way to build it back. So let's get a little more creative. But I love having you all here. Thank you so much. See you next time. See you at the festival. Yes.
I'll put it in our newsletter. And like I said, we're gonna have that conversation.